Okay.
All right, everyone. Looks like we're just a couple minutes out here. We've got Katie Thurber with us from the Nebraska Department of Labor, who is going to be speaking with us about helping employees affected by layoffs and reduced hours. Katie, you can screen share whenever you're ready, but I do believe that we've got Tony here to give you a smashing intro.
And Tony, right before you get started on that, we do have some folks on Facebook. So hello, all of those folks on Facebook. Please note that I will be checking Facebook for questions that you may have typed in, and we will get those into this webinar so that those can be answered as well. Over to you, Tony.
All right, thanks, Wensley. First of all, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Entrepreneurs Education Collaborative webinar. My name is Tony Schultz. I'm with the Nebraska Business Development Center, and I'm out of the Small Business Development Center office here in Omaha. First, I'd like to extend just a special thanks to our member organizations of the EEC, including Bunker Labs, Catholic Charities, Nebraska Business Development Center, Nebraska Enterprise Fund, SCORE, the Better Business Bureau, the Greater Omaha Chamber REACH program, and the Small Business Administration. We appreciate the collaboration and the contributions of all those groups. Our Zoom access today is going to be limited to 300 participants, but as Wensley said, we have our Facebook access that's live on Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce, the REACH Facebook page. That's going to be an alternative for our attendees if they can't log in through Zoom. Today's presentation will be recorded, so bear that in mind. We are excited to welcome Katie S. Thurber to today's webinar. Katie is General Counsel and Interim Unemployment Insurance Director with the Nebraska Department of Labor. She serves as the department's legislative liaison and oversees the Unemployment Insurance Appeal Tribunal, the Benefit Accuracy Measurement Unit, and various labor standards programs, including wage payment and collections, contractor registration, and child labor law. Katie has been with the Nebraska Department of Labor for 7 years. Prior to becoming General Counsel in 2016, she worked for the department as a law clerk, a hearing officer, and an attorney. First of all, Katie, thank you for joining us for today's program. We really appreciate you taking the time, and we're looking forward to the information you have to share, and I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you. I appreciate the introduction. Well, first of all, I am thrilled to be here today. I know that this is a challenging time for the entire state, and everything seems to be changing every hour on the hour. So I need to preface my comments with everything I say today might change again in an hour. And I apologize for that, but that's the current world we are living in. So I wanted to start by talking about first just some of our existing programs that the Department of Labor has. The first program that I want to talk about actually isn't in the unemployment world, but it is in the training world. So any employers that are currently looking to revamp what they're doing to meet the needs of the current market, whether that's switching to making a new product line in manufacturing, whether that's, I read an interesting article about someone who's using a 3D printer to make, I believe it was masks. Anything like that might require training. We have the Worker Training Board program, which is a grant program. And if there is upskilling that is needed or repurposing, I highly encourage employers to look at that opportunity. And I was working on getting that website pulled up, and I didn't quite get it. So bear with me, and I will show everyone that website. All right. Sorry, let me see how I share my screen. Sorry. Well, I can't figure that out. So I will just tell you that if you go to dol.nebraska.gov and type in the search feature Worker Training Board, you get the link for grant application, program guidelines. The biggest issue with it is a quarterly program, but we have a lot of flexibility and can adjust that if something's needed. please reach out to Steve Four or to me, and all of that information should be available on our website for how to contact us. The second program
Hey, Katie, I was going to say, if you, in the toolbar of the Zoom meeting, there should be, it's a little black toolbar. There should be a button that says share with the box and the arrow pointing up.
I didn't do it. Oh, now it's working. Sorry.
No, that's okay. It can sometimes be a little slow. I think the entire world is on Zoom right now. So, yep, we can see your screen great now.
All right, so here is the worker training board. Here are the deadlines for the applications. So our next meeting's April 28th. The next deadline's June 30th. As long as your application is in, I believe we retroactively fund the training funds. So please, again, though, call. I do see Lisa Sharp has raised her hand. Okay. Our next program that I wanted to talk about is our short-time compensation program. That's also available on our website, nebraska.gov, dol.nebraska.gov/STC. This program's been getting a lot of attention. Prior to COVID-19 pandemic, we had about 10 applications since the existence of the program. As of today, we've processed 299. I'm not sure how many have actually come in, but we have fully processed 299. So I have actually repurposed my legal team to become the short-time compensation program team. What this program is designed to do is avert layoffs. If you are looking at an alternative to shutting down, this is an excellent program. So what it does is, instead of, in typical unemployment, you are, anytime you have earnings, it's a dollar for dollar reduction from an individual's weekly benefit amount. In short-time compensation, rather than looking at earnings, we look at hours worked. So you can earn as much as you want. You can earn $2,000 in a week, and as long as your hours were reduced between 10 and 60%, you'd still be eligible for an additional weekly benefit amount through unemployment. The way the program works is employers complete an application. So if you can still see my screen, I'm on our STC page. You simply click apply online at anyworks.gov. I've actually logged in into our test environment. So that you can get an idea of what you will see. Let me type in. So you should be able to see an unemployment file and a short-time compensation link. Once in that link, you can create an STC plan, and you just have to fill out all of the information. The key component of the STC plans is that the employer designates units. Once in a unit, each employee in that unit has to be impacted in the same way. So if you are reducing, say, if you're an auto shop and you are reducing your paint crew 30%, your tire crew 20%, your maintenance or general maintenance 50%, that's fine. You just need to group it that way. Some key questions. Yes, part-time employees are eligible. The people who are not eligible are seasonal employees. The other key piece is that if it is a employee that's exempt on salary, please put their usual hours worked as 40 hours and do a % reduction. That will go a very long way in easing everything. The next thing that I wanted to shift, and I'll take questions after the fact, that might just be simpler, is to the new CARES Act and all of the unemployment provisions that are in that. So the first program is called Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. And if anyone on the call was impacted by the flooding, you might have heard of Disaster Unemployment Assistance. And this is a very similar program to that. Anyone who is not eligible for regular unemployment benefits or extended benefits or emergency unemployment benefits is eligible for pandemic unemployment. So this will loop in churches, hairstylists, you name it, independent contractors, any 1099 employees will all be potentially eligible for this pandemic unemployment assistance. The pandemic unemployment assistance current weekly minimum benefit amount is $174, and the max benefit is the same as regular unemployment, which is $440. We're still waiting for further guidance from USDOL on how we will calculate anyone's monetary entitlement. The next program, oh, and I should say that's effective going back to January 27th, 2020. So if someone hasn't filed because they did not think they were typically eligible for unemployment, then they can file. We will backdate up to when the pandemic started.
She's just like sharing her food. That's that.
The one condition that people for eligibility is that the unemployment is related to the COVID-19 pandemic. The second new program is the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation, FPUC. This is getting a lot of news. It's the additional increase in unemployment benefits. So in addition to your regularly calculated weekly benefit amount, employees will be eligible for $600. That's a flat $600. It's not conditioned upon earnings or anything else. It is just a flat $600 attached to your weekly benefit amount. The federal pandemic unemployment compensation is going to go on to regular unemployment and pandemic unemployment. So if you're in either program, you will be potentially eligible for this additional $600. The $600 is effective starting March 29th of 2020, and it runs through July 31st of 2020. The pandemic, we're still waiting for further guidance, and the guidance we received from U.S. Department of Labor is to not pay it out yet till we have the official regulations, but that will be retroactive. So once we have the regulations, we will go back in time and apply it to people who are currently claiming and receiving benefits. Then the next program is the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program, PEUC. And this program, at your current regular unemployment benefit program, is 26 weeks of benefit eligibility. This adds an additional 13 weeks to your regular time frame. And so it's 100% federally funded and will not impact the trust fund, but people will be eligible for now up to 39 weeks of unemployment. And that applies to anyone who was originally eligible for regular unemployment and has either exhausted their claim, so received all of the money they were eligible for, or their benefit year has expired before this was in effect. And this is starting again March 29th. This one is not backdated. It starts March 29th of 2020. And it runs through December 31st of the year. Then oh, and I should say the FPUC The additional $600 also applies to that extended time frame. The next thing that I want to make employers aware of, because it impacts our trust fund, which then impacts everyone's contributions and experience rating going forward, is that the feds are reimbursing government entities and nonprofits. If you're set up as a reimbursable employer, the feds are going to reimburse 50% of those charges. Right now, we aren't charging if it's related to COVID, but we'll be able to get half of the money back, which will greatly benefit the impact to the trust fund. The other thing that is happening is through Executive Order 20-04, we waived our statutorily required wait week. And that is now also going to be funded by the feds, that 1 week payment, which will also make a significant impact on our trust fund. In the CARES Act, the feds are also funding at 100% short-time compensation benefits. We are not 100% certain on if the additional $600 will apply to short-time compensation. We have reached out to the U.S. Department of Labor. Our regional office took a pre-review, and they believe that employees on short-time compensation qualify for the additional $600 in addition to their weekly benefit amount as well. But they are not certain on that, and so they escalated it to the U.S. DOL's legislative review team to get a formal answer. So that's a question we've been getting pretty regularly, and we don't have a firm answer yet. Let me get. Then I wanted to briefly remind everyone what we've done already without USDOL on our executive order. So with the executive order, right now we are treating all employees that are in unpaid status for any reason related to COVID-19 as attached to the employer. And we're doing that in hopes that these layoffs are temporary, but we know that might not be the case for everyone, but that is our hope. And so we didn't want people searching for work when they will hopefully have a job to go back to. And so there is no work search requirement at the moment. We have also waived charging for contributory and reimbursable employers if the layoff is the result of COVID-19. We have further, if you don't respond timely to us when we ask for information related to the unemployment benefit separation, an employer is automatically charged and they lose their appeal rights. And we have waived those provisions as well, because we recognize that everyone has a lot going on right now, and being able to respond to us is not as simple as it maybe used to be. And so if you don't get a response to us timely, we've made some changes to our system to make sure that non-charging is granted automatically, and that the employer is not penalized for that. I know that was a lot of information in a really, really quick time, but I wanted to give a broad overview and then dive into some of the more specific questions. And so if we could start maybe and try and do it somewhat program by program, and I can see at least some of the questions. So I thought I'd start with the STC questions that I see. So Spencer Ryan asked if employers must cut employees' hours uniformly. Some businesses have different units, and one of my clients has plenty of work for one employee's task, but a different employee does not have the same amount to be able to keep them on full time. Thank you. Okay, so that goes to the units. The rules of units are there have to be 3 people in a unit. If you enter into an STC plan, you can keep and have 100 employees, you can keep 97 employees employed full time and only have 3 employees participating in the short-term compensation program. Once you designate those 3 employees, you do have to treat them the same. So if they are working, if one works 40 hours, one works 20 hours, and another works 15 hours, what we consider treating them the same is that they're all of their hours are reduced the same proportion. So they might not all end up with the same hours because they didn't start with the same hours, but they were all reduced between 10 to 60%, whatever number you land on. Then on the pandemic unemployment assistance, are nonprofits eligible? Are contractors that work outside and that do not work during the winter months eligible for pandemic unemployment assistance? Yes. So we do not care if you are a nonprofit, you can be any type of business entity, that will not matter. What simply matters is that you are not eligible.
And so if we're closing on Saturday, what's the point of hanging up the banners?
All that matters is that you're eligible for you're not eligible for regular unemployment. So that will pick up most nonprofits, churches, independent contractors, you name it, they will be covered.
I saw a question pretty early on. Someone had asked about, was there any language around undocumented workers?
Yes. So undocumented workers are not eligible unless the only way to be eligible is if you have an authorized to work in the United States permit. You need some authorization to work in the United States. All right. Any feedback on concerns about employers trying to bring employees back on staff to be eligible, but the employees getting the extra $600? Yes. So that is a concern that's being expressed across the board. I even have it coming from my own employees. So the number one thing I'm telling people is, at least with the state, employment provides some benefits that unemployment doesn't. Insurance, retirement. I'm focusing on the benefit package, not just the cost, and I'm also focusing on there's no guarantee when a job will become available again, and the $600 does end July 31st of 2020. The other thing that individuals need to keep in mind when they're making these decisions is our guidance from USDOL right now is to not pay until we know the rules. And so payment's not going to happen tomorrow, even though you're eligible today. So if someone's living paycheck to paycheck, that's hard when we have more. The most recent week that's official out, we had over 15,000 new individuals filing for unemployment. That's more than any week we've had on record. So it's not going to be as quick as some people might hope for it to be. I apologize. There's a lot coming in, so I'm trying to get them. Let's see.
Did you want me to help you moderate questions, Katie?
That would be really beneficial.
Okay, so here's what I'll do. I will start, I'll start from probably some of the earliest ones, and we'll just go through. And if there's anything that's repetitive, you can go ahead and you let me know. Okay.
That sounds great.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Nikki Wolf says, does the business owner qualify as well? And do you qualify if you don't have any employees?
So for pandemic unemployment assistance, yes. The business owner qualifies, and you qualify if you don't have any employees. For short-time compensation, yes, the business owner qualifies, but you need at least 3 people in the plan. But for pandemic unemployment, yes, the business owner qualifies.
Sounds like we might have lost Samantha there for a second, Katie, so I'll kind of jump in and help kind of moderate some of the questions here. One of the ones that popped up, most of my clients I have signed up that have signed up for employment, it's all about the job search. When did that change? Did that change overnight?
Yeah, so as of March 22nd, no one should be seeing the work search requirement. If they are still seeing the work search requirement, please let me know. I should add, for the pandemic unemployment assistance, for the PEUC, the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation, there is a federally required work search, which we are exploring what we can do with that, but it will not be our current model that is pretty strict.
Okay. One of the other ones that came up, I have a small business of 7 people. How does units affect us with the uniform hours reduction?
So you could go multiple ways. You could do your entire business, so all 7 employees, and reduce everybody any percentage you want from 10 to 60. So if you wanted to reduce everyone to half time, reduce everyone's hours 30%. If you wanted to only reduce part of your team, as long as there were just three or more people in that group, you're good to go.
All right. One question came up, is there a form of assistance for salaried workers?
Yes, so salaried workers are eligible for, as long as they meet the earnings requirements and the basic eligibility requirements, are eligible for regular unemployment. Then if they have exhausted regular unemployment, they'll be potentially eligible for the emergency unemployment. And then if they exhaust that or are not eligible for either of those, they will also potentially be eligible for a pandemic unemployment. You can also put salaried workers in a short-time compensation program if you choose.
Okay, so I think I'm back. My mute was being very naughty. All right, so following Tony's lead there, Deb Raymond, and I apologize if I pronounce that incorrectly, says, I own an LLC that's a private preschool. Our only income is parent tuition that we do not have now. I have 1 employee that has filed for unemployment. What would be my best avenue as the owner to be able to continue paying my rent and insurance so I'm able to reopen eventually?
I'm not 100% sure I'm the one to answer that, but part of it is going to be if you want to keep going with the business currently or not. If you want to try and keep going with the business at this moment, STC or short-time compensation is an excellent option. If you do not want to try and keep the business going at right now, I recommend filing for unemployment. And I should make it clear, and I apologize that I didn't do this earlier. For all of these new federal programs, the process is going to be to file for regular unemployment. If you are not eligible, you will get a denial letter and your employees will get a denial letter. That is just part of the process because as a condition of any of the federal programs, we have to show you're not eligible for regular unemployment. We will then review your claim and automatically put you into the new federal program that you are eligible for.
And so I think this kind of is in that same vein. The question is, so what exactly is the difference when you apply for pandemic unemployment versus regular, or are they one and the same when you apply online?
When you apply online, they'll be one and the same. Right now, I don't know if the weekly certification questions will be the same or not, but the initial application will be identical.
Great. Okay. Another one here is, how does the PUA impact individuals who had their hours reduced but are still working?
So if you are not on a short-time compensation program, if your hours are reduced and it's what we consider partially unemployed, and there is a dollar for dollar reduction of your weekly benefit amount, and there's a 25% earnings disregard in there. So if your weekly benefit amount is $325 a week and you earn $500 that week under regular or pandemic unemployment, you would not be eligible for benefits. However, if you're on a short-time compensation program in that same scenario, but it was your hours that were reduced 50%, you'd be eligible for 50% of your weekly benefit amount.
Great. I have Fafa, and again, apologies on the name pronunciation, not my strong suit. The question is, so what are the options available to sole proprietors, or rather, I guess, are sole proprietors eligible for any of the programs you've discussed?
Yes, it's going to depend how you're set up as a business entity. So if you've been reporting wages on yourself, then you are potentially eligible for regular unemployment. If you have not been reporting wages and electing into our unemployment tax system, then you are potentially eligible for pandemic unemployment assistance, which is the first federal program I was discussing that picks up anyone who is not eligible for regular unemployment.
Great. Okay. And it looks like I have reached the end of the ones that are in the chat, I believe. So Winsley, do you see any on the Facebook page?
No, I just a few minutes ago asked our Facebook viewers if there were any more questions. It does not appear as though we have received any of those. So I think that we are good for now.
Okay, I do want to let everyone know if you're interested in the short-time compensation program, the phone number to call for more specific questions is 402-471-9912. 402-471-9912.
And so, unless there are more questions, and we'll pause for a moment and see if there are more questions, but we will have the recording of this session posted on the Reach Facebook page, the Chamber resource page. Lots of great resources there. In fact, we have so many organizations that have great resource pages such as NBDC, SCORE, SBA, all of the partners of the Entrepreneur Educational Collaborative have some resources. But this will be posted in a number of places, including the Reach Facebook page where it is currently streaming. I am checking, and there are no more questions on the Facebook page, so I will turn it back over to you guys.
Winsley, I have a question.
Yes, BC.
I have someone that asked, they are a full-time and part-time employee. They were laid off from their part-time job, which was substantial income for, they needed both. And they wanted to know if, even though they're still working full-time, could they file unemployment for the part-time job where they were laid off of?
So I would highly recommend that they go ahead and file. I can't guarantee that there will be eligibility, but what it is there's case law out there that shows that if this made them unemployed or partially unemployed, then there will potentially be some eligibility. The problem is they'll have to report their earnings every week, And if they're full-time employed, they are probably exceeding their weekly benefit amount in earnings. And so they would not receive any money, even though they are technically eligible for unemployment. Each week they would be denied.
Great. Thank you.
It looked like there was one person who had asked, I know you covered this before, Katie, but do you have any theories about when the $600 will be paid out?
No theories. I can tell you that our system that we use for the unemployment program is in 3 other states, and this is not the first time there's been an additional payment to unemployment benefits. And so they have a system in place to pay out under the old rules. So once we have the new rules, it's not like we're starting from scratch. It's just updating the programming to reflect the new rules.
And we have one more that just came in. It says, can an employer apply for both pandemic disaster assistance and PPP?
So an employer only has to file for the short-time compensation program. An employee is who will file for the regular unemployment and pandemic unemployment. However, I'm glad you asked this because I forgot to mention this earlier. If employers are completely shutting down, they do have the ability, whether it's temporary or permanent, they do have the ability to file the initial claim on behalf of their employees. Their employees will still have to log into our system and complete everything. But the benefit to employers is if you've ever done a mass layoff, we ask for separation information on every single individual. When the employers file, they provide that information up front. And so then you do not get the individual requests from my agency.
And can I jump in real quick? Katie's absolutely right for Department of Labor. Remember, the PPP is an SBA program that's providing you potentially loans and potentially forgivable loans. It comes out on Friday, and you can apply with your local bank. Most of Nebraska's banks are signed up to do that. To get the forgivable portion, though, remember you have to keep your staff employed and use any proceeds you have from the PPP towards paying the employee costs. So that's just something to keep in mind. They are 2 different programs, though, and 2 different departments. So it's a great question. Thanks for asking that.
We have another one here that says, if you're an employer of less than 4 part-time employees and choose to continue to pay them until your funds run out, will there be credits offered if the business does eventually need to close permanently in the next few months?
That's going to be a question for the SBA again.
Yeah, Lisa, that's a great, my guess is you would qualify for the PPP. I can't guarantee it, but that sounds like a great possibility. The key is being able to prove what your average monthly payroll is. So that they will give you funds for 2.5 times your average monthly employment as a loan that could be forgivable as long as you don't lay people off.
Okay. Lisa
Winsley.
wrote a follow-up. She said, Lisa wrote a follow-up. Sorry, Winsley, we'll just gonna sneak this one in. She said, by funds, I'm referring to savings running out before that is available, but thank you so much for the answer.
Yeah, and I'd encourage you to look at the PPP because that can make your savings go further if you get qualified for the payroll protection program.
Go ahead, Winsley.
All right, and so we had somebody who texted in something talking about all the acronyms that are being thrown about, and I can see people very, very easily getting lost with all of these acronyms. So what we'll do is we will post up on the REACH Facebook page a list of those acronyms and kind of what they mean in terms of what those programs are. And we will get that up here within the next hour or so.
And I would say from the Department of Labor perspective, I know I threw out a whole bunch of new programs and a whole bunch of acronyms, and we've been having fun trying to politely pronounce FPUC. But the key thing that employers need to know is short-time compensation is STC, but otherwise file for regular unemployment and we'll sort out which federal program people fall under.
One additional question that just came through. If your employees have filed for unemployment through the state, will they automatically be added to the federal benefits for unemployment?
Yes. So once we have the rules, we will retroactively apply everything that people are now eligible for to their claim. And one more thing, if you do have any employees that are already filing for unemployment, please make sure they're going in each week, even if they've been denied, and filing a weekly certification. That way, with these retroactive provisions, we can make sure and go back in time and get people paid.
Okay, it looks like we have officially slowed to a stop in the Q&A. Fafa, I know that you put one in the chat there, but I think we're not gonna do that one here because it has to do with the PPP, which is a separate program. So we'll reach out to you directly regarding that question. Katie, if you have anything else to add, or Winsley, if you have any last minute people on Facebook, I think everything has been covered here adequately from our attendees.
I would just say thank you all, and please know that the Department of Labor is here and we're happy to try and answer questions. If there's follow-up that you want something in writing, I'm happy to provide it. We're anxiously awaiting more guidance so that we can get some of these going for everybody.
Perfect. And on behalf of all of the partners of the Entrepreneur Educational Collaborative, we thank you for participating. Katie, thank you for presenting. Everybody here on Zoom and on Facebook Live, thank you for your questions. We will continue to post more resources. Please visit the resource pages of all of the partners of the Educational or Entrepreneur Educational Collaborative. There will be continuing to be a outflow of information as information becomes available. Thank you very much, and we'll talk with you guys soon. Thank you.